Hello and welcome back. Long time no see, and I'm super excited to be feeling well enough to join you. Today we're going to make an angle fold card with faux flocking, and here's the project, and I'll explain the flocking part later. First, we're just going to take Versamark regular clear sticky ink and ink up the fall foliage stamp. Use your powder tool. I didn't here and I got lucky, but powder tool is a really good idea. And just give it a good press and it shows up lovely on this background. I'm going to use Hero Art Satin Pearl embossing powder, and that pretty much magnifies the color below, but in this case it kind of gives it a silvery tint, even though it's just a pearlized on the green. I just think that is a beautiful stamp, and it stamps just lovely. There's nothing like a red rubber stamp, in my opinion. The polymer ones are nice and they're not as expensive and they're easy to see through, but there's nothing like a red rubber stamp. Now with this embossing powder, I get my heat tool good and hot, and I'm very careful to keep moving. It's a little fiddly and it's easily burned, and it just sort of absorbs into the paper. So just make sure you keep it moving and don't get too close. You'll notice if you've overdone it, it'll get really light. So I always kind of stop and look at it and then, look at the spots. Next, we're going to take an 8.5 by 11 regular sheet of cardstock and cut it on the diagonal. Now, most cutters aren't really going to be quite long enough. I had to use a craft knife. You may find a cutter that can do it, though. It'd be a lot easier. Now, with the long side of your paper along the left edge, score at 5.5, and then flip it, put the long edge at the top, and score at 4.25. That way you'll have the finished size of the card. Now this is not an exact science. I kind of think my scoreboard is just a hair off. So I'm showing you where, since it's kind of hard to see where I have the lines, I'm just going to show you. I do want to thank Lorrie for giving me the idea to do this card. I'm just going to give it a good creasing with my bone folder. And the more you play with it, you'll get it to kind of line up. You can even nudge it a little bit if you need to. That's kind of what I'm doing right there. Because I said, I'm not sure my scoreboard is absolutely on the mark. Then I cut out with a die cut the stitched edge rectangle, the largest one of the set for an A2 card. And I'm just going to cut that in half on the diagonal. That does fit on your cutter though. And I'm sliding up the glitter paper up to the edge. Now this is just all going to take a little bit of fiddling around. So be careful not to use paper that you need to line up. That could get really ugly really quick. So with any of even the next layer, don't get something you really have to line up. That would be my suggestion. And I'm just adhering that with some liquid glue so I can have some wiggle room. And now I'm going to put it on the other side. I'm so sorry it took me so long to get back. I'll tell you, the pneumonia just takes the life out of you. And I wanted to do it, and I kept thinking, oh, I'm going to do this, and I just couldn't muster up the energy to do it. So, and I want to, do something nice and not just throw something up here. So I'm so sorry for the wait. I'm so appreciative that you came back to see me. See how I'm kind of fiddling things? Eventually, though, you can get it to work out. Now I'm going to take the next size down of my stitch rectangle. Now these are my favorite things, stitch rectangle A2. I think they may have discontinued them though. So, but any A2 size stitch rectangle would certainly work. Use whatever you have. So I did the next size down, and I'm going to once again Put it on the trimmer, cut it on the diagonal, and see if we can get this to line up. See why it's kind of important not to have definitely no lines. You would not want to have stripes because it just never folds out perfectly. But it's a really cute card when it's done. So I'm going to trim off a little bit of the inside of that, just enough to get it lined up the way I'd like. And once again, more Hero Arts Precision Glue gives you that half a second of wiggle room, and sometimes a half a second is all you need. It's kind of weird to be working on Christmas cards in August. I still haven't quite gotten used to that, but if I keep going, I may have enough to mail at Christmas without having to make any extras. See how I'm kind of lining it up, and I know I'm going to be cutting a little more, but the pattern of this, it really doesn't matter. So I'm just going to trim off the weird part on the inside. So here come the flock transfer sheets. I'm not going to use them as transfer sheets this time. I'm just going to die cut the pieces. And in order to, you can just use white. You don't have to have every color, although I do have some green. They have lots of lovely colors, but I just only happen to have the white. And I'm just going to make it whatever color I want. Turned out I didn't even really want this color of green. I wanted another one. I tried writing on it with a marker and coloring it, and it really rips up the edges and it starts to lift it. This stuff is a little fiddly too. So in order to color it, you're going to want to pounce on it. Don't try to rub it with a marker because it'll just come right off. I'm trying to show you that there. I'm also showing you that I used a big piece and colored the piece and then stamped it or die cut it. It's really better not to waste if you can help it. So I decided to die cut first and then color, and it saves me some flocking. Now I have one of those really juicy old-fashioned Marvy markers, and I'm rolling it, but I'm being real careful to roll and not, rub. And there's the example of what the poinsettia is going to look like. And I'm just placing the color on top of the flocking. So it's really not faux flocking so much as we just redid the color of it. And I think it's just really pretty, and you just want to layer them opposites as you pile them up on top of each other at different angles. And then I just put a couple of leaves on. You could probably put on a million. I applied it all to a cardboard circle. That way it was all one piece and you could just plunk it down instead of trying to build it on the card. And I wanted to do half on each side, and so I'm only going to glue the left half. You want to really be careful about this. So you want to open up the card, and you can always wipe the glue off of the table, but you don't want to glue it down to the other side of the card. And ask me how I know. So there's the finished card. I'll put a sentiment on the inside at some point. I just didn't really have one today that I, felt like using. And I just wanted to show you some of the other cards. The fall card is also with Hero Arts stamps and some, I believe those are oxide inks. And that's a pretty pink Posh leaf die. And I did that for a blog named Heroes post. And then the one that started it all was the Pink and Main's large bow die with Lorrie McCullers at Stamp Away. She's the one that gave me the idea, and I want to thank her again. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial and that you go out and try it and that you come back and see me. Like, subscribe, tell your friends, tell your enemies. Come visit the blog darbycreekdiaries.com for more information and picture links. I'm going to leave a couple videos here for you to take a peek at. Until next time, I hope you have a wonderful week. I will be back soon. Bye-bye.